this is Marina from Astrology bringing you the full moon in December on the 18th at 27 degrees of Gemini. So before we dive in deep, here is a quick sum up of what I'm going to be looking at in detail. So the moon is trine Jupiter. It's going to be in an aspect pattern called the megaphone. The healing crystal will be the rhodochrosite. The tarot card will be the Ten of Swords, and the fixed star for this full moon is Beetlejuice, the red giant. So the theme for this full moon is nostalgia and the ghosts of Christmas past. Use this moon to respect past Christmases, say goodbye to what haunts you, and bring closure to karmic relationships. So the big theme for this December full moon is nostalgia and looking into the karmic past, as I said. This period gives us a chance to let go of past hurts. Gemini Decan 3 is a busy decan with many possibilities because it's actually in the Milky Way. That part of it spans the Milky Way. Tons of stars there. So you could get poked by the bull's horns, which some of the constellation of Taurus actually straddles this decan. But don't worry, the rest of the stars will probably protect you if you let them. There's a big choice. So the imagination is very active here. Those touched by the full moon will have a great sense of what is trending. At the same time, the moon is not particularly strong by dignity, so it has to cope with many different strategies. This full moon could bring out some two-faced and untrustworthy behaviour. And yeah, that is the negative side of Gemini. But some of it won't be really intentional. It doesn't really mean to be duplicitous. It simply ebbs and flows along with the pervading moon. Because, as I said, yeah, Gemini, the moon, both of those are very fluxy type energies. So Gemini, the sign, flip-flops between positions, and yeah, the moon is very changeable emotionally. So the theme then in Gemini 3 will be that of dancing around different subjects and moons. And this position, though, is also very psychic as it's so well attuned to the collective consciousness, and it is quick to adapt to the changes in the atmosphere. So the tarot card for this moon is the Ten of Swords. Now, unfortunately, the air signs are stuck with the sword suit as representing them. So the imagery isn't really as optimistic as the other elements. So yeah, if you know your tarot, you'll know that all the swords, well, not all of them, but most of them are pretty nasty looking. So, but we must remember that these cards must be read slightly differently when we're associating them with the decans, as they are showing the lessons learnt in other lifetimes and karma that have made or that may have already been paid back. So with the 10, we have come to the end of a cycle, so it's associated with old souls. So peace is on the way and an end to suffering. And you know, this card is the end of the line, the darkest hour before dawn, which goes very well with the Saturn rulership of this decan. Saturn does rule this decan, actually. It's a secondary ruler because, yeah, Mercury does rule Gemini, but Saturn is like the decan ruler. So karmically, this life is about releasing. Now, Teach Me Tarot say, however, you cannot just lie there and expect it all to be done for you and to you. Recovery depends on you letting go of and saying goodbye to the way you've been living and coping with things. Change is needed on every level for you, as what you've been doing up till now has not been working. You know, if it hasn't been working, then, you know, we have to change. So now I do have on the website what this moon means for all the signs, but I won't go through it here because it'd just be too long. But if you go to the post, it has a link straight away to what it means for each sign. Now, the full moon is on Beetlejuice. So you'll recognise that name if you're a fan of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. But Beetlejuice is one of the major stars. It's a red giant. Most people know of it or have heard of it. And it's pretty extreme in its energy as well. So its beneficial effects depend, because it does have some beneficial effects because it's strong. It's a powerful star. But it depends on the placement. Now, Beetlejuice on the moon has its own specific meaning, and it gives an active mind, strong will, turbulent, rebellious under restraint, military success, but suffering through quarrels with superiors, likelihood of great power, honour and wealth. So, there's the good. With the moon in the lunar mansion here, the lunar mansion with the moon there will be insincere, proud, ungrateful, cruel, sinful, deceitful and wicked. So, there's different ways of interpreting it, I guess. So now the use of power to improve the quality of life of ordinary people is one of its aspects, one of its good points, and the concern for one's immediate environment and domain. In extreme cases, members of one's tribe are sacrificed to ensure the continued dominance of one's genetic family. Survival of the fittest. Now, what's going on at the moment may be kind of a Beetlejuice type thing. And anyway, we'll get on. So, also, now let's talking about conspiracies. 9/11 and Beetlejuice are kind of connected because the moon was on Beetlejuice when the first tower was struck on 9/11. And I would have thought that this warmongering star would have the qualities of Jupiter and Mars, but instead Ptolemy gives Mars and Mercury to Beetlejuice. And Mercury and Mars together are more about info wars and propaganda. So, and we know 9/11 is a hot topic within the truth community, so it sort of fits then. So I'm thinking that Beetlejuice may be more about mind control rather than physical control. It is the battle for our minds, and Beetlejuice is found in the constellation of Orion. Now, if you're a fan of negative alien agenda and some of the sort of more esoteric side of the New Age, I don't like calling it the New Age, but you know what I mean. You will have probably heard of the Orion group, and they are supposed to be a warmongering bunch of souls who have come to enslave the human race. Now, the law of one society say their objective is to locate certain mind, body, spirit complexes which vibrate in resonance with their own vibrational complex, and then to enslave the unelite. So there you go. So when I was doing my research on Beetlejuice and Orion, I didn't really know of this Orion group. So I had a little look up, and I thought it was quite fascinating that it kind of fits very well with the meaning of the constellation of Orion, the hunter. And if you Google Orion Group, you get this company. They're a recruitment company, and it says on their website, people are our business worldwide. And they use the word manpower as well. It was kind of funny when I was doing the editing for this, and I used Grammarly, and when I put down manpower, it said I got a non-inclusive word warning. So manpower you can't use anymore apparently. But it does really fit with the actual Orion group because it's mainly heavy industry. It's oil and gas, IT, telecoms, rail construction, mining, power and utilities. So it probably is mainly manpower. Don't yell at me for this, but anyway. Now, also, if we're thinking of the Orion group and slavery as well, and they want to enslave us, it kind of fits because, in the old times, men were mainly slaves. The women were actually kidnapped kind of for sex slavery instead. It's kind of typical, isn't it? So, but yeah, it was the men because they had the physical strength, and at that time, slaves were needed to do the heavy industry. I mean, now, slaves are in offices, and they don't necessarily have to be fit physically. So now they want our brains, So anyway, maybe I'm going a bit too tinfoil hat here, but I did think it was interesting that the Orion group were this kind of manpower organization. It could have been a hotel chain, it could have been accountants, but it's a manpower company. So, just interesting. So now let's get on to the astrology again. And the aspect pattern is called a megaphone. And a megaphone is comprised of, it's the opposition of the full moon. And then you've got the trine to Jupiter, which also sextiles to the Sun. And then you get this kind of, you got a quincunx with an I at the end of it. So yeah, more eyes again. I'm sorry, I'm kind of obsessed with eyes at the moment, but it's just happening in the astrology all the time as well. So you've got, yeah, the eyeball is actually Venus and Pluto. So that's kind of focusing in on the Persephone love bite type of energy, the dark Cupid, dark love affairs, forbidden fruit, that kind of thing. So the megaphone, how does it work? Well, we speak quietly into the moon end, which is the sort of narrow point, and then the voice booms out through where Saturn sextiles Jupiter and where the Venus is conjunct Pluto. So I'm thinking that the Sun filter could be a kind of like optimism filter, but the Venus-Pluto could amplify and intensify. That's probably a better word for Venus-Pluto. And the Hubers, though, say that it could also work as a catchment tank to keep words secret. So there's the kind of censorship. So that's interesting. If you're actually born with a megaphone, it means you are a thinker who extracts a lot of information from communication, which you can then check for value and truth. Fact checkers! And the Hubers also say that the planet at the apex, so in this case Pluto and Venus, mean that control over all the figure's mental activities is exerted from here, but targeted information from the environment can also have a manipulative effect and create dependency. So yeah, again, it is a propaganda kind of megaphone. And Venus, Pluto, by the way, has a certain amount of codependency with it as well. So if you combine that with the Ten of Swords, then we really have to take note of it, underline it, because it's like a double whammy. So once we realise that there's a codependency there and we have become overly dependent on a relationship, job or app, whatever it may be, recovery depends on your letting go of it and saying goodbye to the way you've been living and coping with things, as I said, earlier about the tarot card reading. So now the full moon crystal, why did I pick it? Well, full moons are a time of conception and letting go, like when menstruation comes. So the crystal for this Beetlejuice red moon, but I think going all out red would probably be too inflammatory, so no really bright red crystals. So I did pick rhodochrosite because, like Gemini, it has bands of different shades of pink, plus that stabilising strip of black in it as well. Now, rhodochrosite comes from the Greek word rhodos, which means rose. I'm thinking of Rhodes as well. There's an island called Rhodes. Anyway, this crystal helps you pick yourself up after heartbreak, renew optimism, and brings happiness back into your life. It releases blockages around the heart chakra. And this stone has a beautiful childlike innocence about it and returns playfulness and joy to your connections. Rhodochrosite is supposed to help remove anything that irritates the lungs as well, because Gemini rules the lungs, and relieves asthma symptoms. And we will need all the help we can get during this cold and flu season as well. This crystal eases breathing problems, and it's especially useful for relieving shortness of breath due to anxiety, and it can help ease panic attacks as well. So if you're watching the mass media and it's kind of going on about varieties of a certain bug, don't let it get to you. Don't start panicking. So I chose the robin redbreast as the illustration because of its spiritual meaning. So all birds are angel messengers from God because they're the only creature on earth with wings like an angel. According to legend, robins got their redbreast from saving Jesus from the flames of hell. Didn't know that. So yeah, I looked it up. I thought it was kind of interesting. The red is the scorch mark. And if you see a robin and are going through a rough time, it symbolises the hardship will end soon. Conversely, if a robin enters a house, it augurs death to someone who lives there. Yikes. So no, that's not so optimistic. However, if you dream of a robin, it signifies new beginnings and renewal. So, I can't sugarcoat the whole of the robin meaning. It does have a dark side, and I like to look at all the sides. Plus, with the fixed star being red and also that Ten of Swords, there is an edge to this full moon. We've just come out of eclipse season as well. So it would have been nicer to have a really mild moon. But it's December. It's winter time and it's Saturnian time. So it always has a touch of melancholy about it anyway. So anyway, we've got the renewal and the new beginnings. So at this Christmas full moon, pay attention to the robin angels and where they manifest. Christmas is a nostalgic time, and a robin in the snow is the classic Christmas card image, and now we know why, really. The robin also symbolises the dead, those ghosts of Christmas past, but this bird also represents the sun's return at the winter solstice as well. So use this moon to respect past Christmases, say goodbye to what haunts you, and bring closure to karmic relationships. Let go of painful bonds and move on to new pastures. Maybe the robin will show you the way. So that brings me to the end. Thanks for listening. Have a look at my merch. I've got nice Christmas jumpers for you. Well, jumpers, they're more like shirts, sorry. But they're just emulating a Christmas jumper. And have a wonderful Christmas. Take care. Bye-bye.